It's an awkward name to pronounce. I was born in Damascus, Syria, March 24th, 1960. I share the same birthday as Vasily Smyslov, something I'm quite proud of. My family lived in Syria until 1964. We emigrated to the United Kingdom in 64, and in 1967 my father was hired by the Boeing Company of Seattle, Washington, which is how the family came to Seattle, where I grew up and I naturalized and I became an American citizen. In 1972, in the summer, I was the product of the Bobby Fischer boom. Bobby Fischer, of course, excited the entire chess world, but what he did for chess in America cannot be overstated. And I got swept up with Bobby Fischer, and I began to play chess, excuse me, in 1972. 7.5 years later, in January of 1980, I recorded my final Grandmaster norm, and I became a chess Grandmaster. How did I go from being an absolute beginner in 1972, the summer of 72, to being a chess Grandmaster 7.5 years later? This is what this DVD is all about. I want to show you my games, selected games, that took me from the stages of a beginner to chess Grandmaster and the levels of ascendancy that I went through to make it. The first time I played a chess Grandmaster was in 1973 at the U.S. Open in Chicago. I played against Grandmaster Duncan Suttles. It's always a great thrill to play against a chess Grandmaster, and as a 13-year-old boy with a Class B rating, I got wiped out, just completely destroyed. 2 years later, in 1975, I played the chess legend, an American chess legend, Arthur Bisguier. You may know him from a game that he played with Bobby Fischer in my 60 Memorable Games. We played at the U.S. Open in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I want to show you that game. From the time I started to play chess, my favorite move was Bobby Fischer's opening move, 1, e2, e4. But what I discovered is that as I was going from a 13-year-old to a 14-year-old, from beginner to Class B and onwards to expert, was that it was too difficult to learn everything about the 1e4 defenses. It was impossible, and my opponents could easily catch me in an opening trap. Therefore, I turned my opening repertoire to 1, c2, c4, the English opening, which is what I played with Arthur in this game. So let's get started. c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6, a3. What I'm trying to do with this move a2, a3 is turn it into a Sicilian reversed. I'm hoping that after d7, d5, I will play the black side of a Sicilian with an extra tempo. Oops. g6, g3, both sides develop the fianchetto of their bishops, rather, and d7, d6. All very standard opening moves. And by the way, I just want to say I'm going to refer to notes which I printed out on my left side, just to make sure that I haven't overlooked something that I had actually wanted to say. Knight d4. This is a simplifying move by black in English. What often happens is white wants to play the move b4, b5, and carry out an expansion on the queen side. So with the move knight d4, black gets out from this possible plan, which is common. Takes, knight d5, knight g4. Also, knight takes d5. Came up. Knight takes d5. Just a moment. Knight takes d5, bishop takes d5. And after, for example, c7, c6, bishop g2, again, we see that what white wants to do is play b4 and b5. And the position's about even, although I had very good results on the white side. So we go back, takes, knight g4. Now keep in mind, of course, that when this game was played, I was an expert, which in American parlance, that means a player rated from 2,000 to 2199, whereas my opponent's the illustrious, legendary chess grandmaster, he's playing for a win. So with the move knight g4, he's trying to keep as many pieces on the board as he can. b4, c6, knight f4. Rook e8, very logical move to put pressure against the pawn on e2. e5, also a logical move. As we've seen, white carries out his idea of putting pressure on the long diagonal. Bishop d7, e1, bishop e5, bishop d2, queen c8, rook e1. This is a chess grandmaster's prophylaxis type of move, rook e1. There's no threat to the pawn on e2 short term, but long term is just a good idea to cover up the only potential weakness in my position. Rook b8, takes, queen a4. Again, following up with the idea of putting pressure on the c6 pawn, but now I am also threatening the a7 pawn. Rook b7, h4. Yes, this is a kind of a tough move to annotate. And one idea was that in this position, should I be playing h3 and driving the knight back from g4 to the f6 square, or should I be leaving the knight on g4? In the game, I decided that it was best to simply play h4 directly. Arthur thought that my move h4 was wrong, and he tries to take advantage of it by capturing the pawn on e2. A very good move, bishop f3, forcing the exchange of rooks, and now this pawn on d6 is my target. Queen b8, defending the pawn, takes. Now we have a bishops of opposite color middle game position, both, which is kind of remarkable, as both sides' king are missing their fianchetto bishop. In this position, actually, white has the initiative because my queen is more active than my opponent's. Rook b1 in order to stop my threat, which was to play rook e8 check, forking king and queen. Bishop c1, keeping rooks on the board. Bishop e6, h5. So now we understand the point of my move h4. h4, I have foreseen the game continuation, and I thought if I could bring my pawn to h6, then my opponent's king is always going to be under the threat of a dark square checkmate. G takes h5 in order to stop that idea. Queen e4, queen b6, check, and queen f3. So now, of course, I'm simply attacking the pawn on h5. Queen b3. This turns out to have a refutation, as we'll see in a moment. Queen e4, queen f4, queen c5. These moves, queen h4, rook b7. This was my sterling idea, bishop h6, check. My opponent cannot retreat with his king because of queen d8 mate, for example. What I just mean to show you. Oops. New variation, queen d8 mate. Simple. So, after rook back to b7, check. King was forced to come up. Bishop f4. This has a nasty, nasty little trick. Let me just check my notes. So this is what Arthur has missed. After queen a5, attacking my rook on e1, I play rook to e5, interfering with the queen's protection of the g5 square. Now I'm threatening queen g5 check and mate. Arthur is forced to give up his queen for rook and bishop. But after this check, also the pawns on e5 and d4 are now weak. King f6 and f4. And this is the winning move because the pawns on e5 and d4 are now fall. Check, takes, back, c5, c6. Just simply advancing the pawn. Of course, the pawn cannot be captured. Queen, rook takes c6, walks into a double attack. c6 takes, c7, check, and I took the bishop. And now I have a new queen, and my opponent resigned. So this was my second game against a chess grandmaster, and again, a chess legend, Arthur Bisguier. And one of the things that's very, very important in chess is confidence. When you beat a grandmaster or a higher rated player, it gives you so much more confidence. And it was this game, this specific game, that jumped me from the expert class to the master class and gave me the confidence that I needed to play more games on a higher level. So we'll go to game 2 in just a moment.